This is ENG6 Farkle project. My name's Meriyah.
I'm Ashley Liu.
I'm Emilia Moore.
Hi, my name's Meriyah Quintana-Haro. This is the ENG6 final project for Farkle, the dice game. Here are the sound bites I helped to make. They're essentially all just like this. And I also helped with creating. It was a collaborative effort. I introduced the design for Farkle and kind of like the layout. However, it was like changed a bit in like lieu of a better format that helps suit like the code and just overall format better. But yeah.
Launch the app. This is the interface that they will see. They can either choose to play online or locally. Local just means they can play on the same computer. And I'll be showing off the local one. If the players choose to, they can choose to either restart the game or continue. These are the instructions, the point system, rules, how to hit Farkle, and the punishment for hitting Farkle. This will store the total score. This also stores total score, and this is just some information about the roles that they store. For example, if I click score, this would be the roll value, total score, total score. And then for the purposes of our demonstration, we made it so that the win condition is 600 points. Sorry, not 600, is 500 points. I think the font is really weird, so that's what it looks like. There is a 5 instead, like an S instead of a 3, but that's a 3. Yeah. And then they can re-roll. And that's what happens when they hit Farkle. So if they roll a Farkle, then their turn will be skipped, a little soundbite will be played, and some text will be displayed on the screen. And then it will be the next person's turn, or in this case, player 1. And then they roll a 100 this turn. So this is the screen, and the soundbite plays when game over hits. In this case, player 1 they hit 500 points just for a demonstration, and they can press restart, and they can play again if they choose.
Hi, my name's Emilia, and I was in charge of implementing the multiplayer online functionality of the game. To join a multiplayer game, you can click multiplayer online, and it'll direct you to a waiting for player screen. And then the next player joins, the game will start. Alright, and then the first player to join is player 1, and so they'll roll first. Score. And then you can see that their turn, roll value, and total score were copied to the other player's table, and the score was updated. And now it's player 1 or player 2's turn. Score. And now it was updated on player 2's side as well. There. Alright, and you can see when the game terminates, it'll show which player won, and you have the option to restart the game.
So this is the app, the roll dice function. At first we just play a soundbite for every time the dice have been rolled, and then this just basically, on the first turn, all the dice are displayed as a dice rolling GIF, just to represent all the dice being rolled, and then this one is just for the check dice, and this just makes sure that each check dice is replaced with a rolling GIF, just so that the user can see that's being rolled.
And then after the dice animation plays, then it'll match the correct dice value image to whatever value's been rolled on each dice, and it'll display the check marks so that the user can select which dice they want to roll next. And these are just some menu and label and hiding functions.
So this function checks if the game is over.
For now, we have set it to if one of the players have scored greater than 1,000, but normally this is supposed to be 10,000. This was just for the demo purposes. Every time, whenever someone's score has hit 1,000 or more, in this case, a soundbite will play, and then it will detect which player has won and display that on the screen. This is just the label of which player has won. This is just the turn text. So, like for example, player 1's turn, player's 2 turn. That will display every time, like if the turn switches. This is just more menu of off and ons. And this checks for Farkle. There are two Farkle functions. There's a reroll Farkle check and there's an initial Farkle check. The initial Farkle check was made because initially you can't check the reroll boxes, and so it won't be able to detect if Farkle has occurred in the first turn since there are no checked boxes, which is why there's two separate functions. On the initial Farkle check, tally is just an empty array and it gets stored. It tallies up how many of each dice have been rolled. For example, like 5 ones have been rolled or something. This is just basically how it tells how many of each dice has been rolled. And this is for all dice values, just because it's initial. This is the same idea, except this is only for the check dice. This is how all of this is how to detect which dice are checked and how many times to repeat this based off how many check dice there are. This is how we calculate scores. Again, we use the same tally function of storing how many values of each dice we have gotten. For example, 5 ones. And this is just storing all the score values, the conditions for each score, and so on and so forth. This detects which turn it is to add their appropriate score to the appropriate person.
Yeah, this is just for checking and unchecking the checkboxes in mass. It takes an array of which ones to uncheck or check. All right, and this is the ThingSpeak functionality that I developed. This function is just for reading scores. This one's for writing scores. This function will clear the channel. So the wait function is used to find an empty channel. What I wanted to do originally was be able to have up to 8 simultaneous games playing with 2 players on the ThingSpeak channel, and so each game would use 1 channel. However, we weren't able to implement that entirely. But so this function finds an empty channel. The first empty channel that it finds, it will write a wait time into it to tell if there's 1 player on the channel or 2 players on the channel or none. And so when the first player joins, it will write 3, and then when the first player joins, it'll write a 4 to the channel. When the second player joins, it'll write a 3, and once the 3 is written, the function will break, or the loop will break, and then then the channel number is recorded and is used in later functions. The wait for player function is the function that's used to wait for the next player's roll and to keep requesting data so that we can tell when the next player has rolled and has sent their score over to the ThingSpeak channel. So it just keeps calling or requesting data from the channel every 1 second, and it will. So the way that scores are sent is I add the player number to their total score, and then I send it over. And then on the receiving function, which is this one, it will take the modulus of the score, since all of the scores are base 10. And so we'll get the player number left over, and then it subtracts it back off. And
Function, it just what commands, like what will execute when
we'll get the player number left over, and then it subtracts it back off, and depending on the subtracts it back off, and depending on the player number, it will add it back to that player and do math to get the roll value and put that in the table. Then it'll move to the next player's turn.
So these are just what will execute when players' turns happens. It'll switch between, like, these are just all the functions and commands that will activate during late player's turn. And this is the ending turn function. It just what commands will execute when the turn ends early. This is the updating the table. So basically, I've initialized the table down in the startup function, and this is called every time I want to update a table. For example, when the score button has been pressed, this update table function will be called, and then it's just based off whose turn it is, it will update data. And then if it has hit Farkle, so here, if Farkle is 0, it will update the data. If Farkle is 0, so like if this is for player 1's turn, if Farkle is 0, it'll update the data. Otherwise, the roll value will equal 0, and it won't get that. It won't update that into the table. It's just the same but for player 2. And here's our start functions, our initialization. And then this is the commands that will execute whenever roll button is pushed. It'll basically just show the dice, roll the dice, initialize the Farkle check, just check if Farkle's been hit, what will happen when Farkle's been hit, etc. It's the same with score, except it'll just hide the roll buttons, and it'll switch to the next player's turn. And then this is stuff for ThingSpeak.
So this is the code where we post the score and add the player number and put it in the channel.
So this just checks if it's Farkle. If it has Farkle is hit, then a soundbite will play, and then this Farkle label will pop up. The table will be updated. It'll pause for a second before turning the Farkle label off and continue. Otherwise, the Farkle label will not pop up. The table will update according to the roll value that has been rolled. And yeah.
And this code just tells or calls the wait for player function. So it'll wait for the next players to send their data over if the game is in multiplayer online mode.
and this just restarts the rolling so that the next player can go. This is the reroll button, so this will basically, as the reroll button, this is just the check values, and it'll reroll the check values. This is again the Farkle. It will detect when Farkle has been hit, the soundbite will be played, and yeah. This is the restart button, this and reinitialize everything. If the menu button has been pushed, all these, like the menu panel, the restart button, continue, all that will pop up. This is the multiplayer local button as well as its commands. You want to explain that? Oh yeah,
This is for when
Sorry,
the multiplayer online button is pushed. It'll just call the wait time or call the find open channel. It'll get the wait time that's been posted to channel, and it'll just set like the waiting for player screen while you're waiting for the next player, and it pauses at for 5 seconds before reading the channel again, just so that we don't run into any errors with making too frequent requests. And
this is the ending restart button. It's the same essentially as, well, it is the same as the other restart button. It's just it's a separate button, so I have to remap everything. These are just the instructions. The show hide instructions was like way up in the code. I'm just calling that function to show and hide everything. And yeah, that's it. So that's it for our code.